I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
What's going on, folks? Trump thinks that the heartbeat bill that DeSantis signed on abortion is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
Well, people are starting to think of 15 weeks. That seems to be a number that people are talking about right now.
Would you sign that?
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something.
In a recent MSNBC interview,
I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
we're going to watch the clip, react to it, and then I'm going to talk about the Lauren Boebert controversy and be as thoughtful and respectful as I possibly can. God bless you guys. Dream Rare Podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's Sunday episode of Dream Rare Podcast. Thanks for joining. Today, I want to talk about a recent MSNBC interview with Donald Trump where they asked him about his abortion stance, and he seems to take a very Democrat stance, saying that the heartbeat bill was a terrible thing and a terrible mistake, which is a bill that Ron DeSantis passed and a few other Republican governors to basically draw the line at heartbeat. And we're going to go over a lot of stuff today, but if you focus and you're not too emotional and angry, I think we could come to similar conclusions because a line does need to be drawn somewhere. You can't just play whack-a-mole with babies out of the womb. So at a certain point, you do have to draw a line. I understand that a lot of people disagree on where that line is going to be drawn, but I'm going to try to be as honest and respectful as I can be today. Here's the clip that's going viral now of Trump saying that DeSantis made a terrible mistake and it's a terrible thing that he drew the line at 5 or 6 weeks with the heartbeat.
I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
So the heartbeat bill at 5 to 6 weeks is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake. And I want to show you guys something here real quick, because whether you agree with me or disagree with me on certain topics, I'm not saying I can't be swayed and I'm super stubborn, but I would say if I say it, I mean it. If I say it, I believe it. I'm not fake. You might say, oh, Anomaly thinks this about Trump or this about DeSantis, but you know I'm not being dishonest to you, and I'm not somebody out here just saying whatever. And I want to show to you, like, this is the biggest account on one of the biggest Trump supporting accounts. Cat Turd, said Stacey Abrams, the Georgia fetal heartbeat bill is evil. And he said, these people are insane, right? So when Stacey Abrams says she disagrees with the heartbeat bill, these people are insane. They're insane. But Cat Turd, who it's weird because I'm not saying he's a bad person. I'm sure he's a really nice guy. But every time people get mad at me on Twitter, every time, I'm talking like 10 out of 10, it's like they're always retweeting Cat Turd. Like he does whatever MSNBC is doing to liberals, this guy's doing to Republicans, like total mind control, just like Trump, to the point where people are like salivating out of their mouth. And it's one of those things where I'm just wondering, is this guy going to cover it the same way he covered with Stacey Abrams? And if he isn't, we have to ask ourselves the question, is it about the babies? Is it about the heartbeat? Is it about the lives? Or is it a Trump cult where if he does the same thing, it doesn't matter because Trump over babies, Trump over morals, Trump over what we really think, Trump over heartbeats, it's Trump over everything. We would literally play whack-a-mole on babies' heads before we admitted that he said something we disagreed with it or pushed back the same way. And I'm going to play the clip again.
I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
So when Stacey Abrams does it, once again, these people are insane, right? It's insane not to understand the heartbeat bill, but Trump is on MSNBC doing what Stacey Abrams does. He doesn't understand it either. He doesn't care. He doesn't like it. So, I like Jack Posobiec. He's always been super nice to me. He led the charge against Dr. Oz when Dr. Oz was attacking heartbeat bills in 2019, and I respected that. Dr. Oz, by the way, was a Trump choice. Trump picked a liberal for some reason to run as a Republican who ended up losing to John Fetterman, who's like half alive. I think he makes Joe Biden look like Usain Bolt. But anyway, this is where I'm just wondering, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful or rude or ruin my friendships or whatever, but it's like, does anybody actually care about the heartbeat? Like, is this a movement of principle and moral and conviction? Or is this a movement of that is our idol and it doesn't matter how far left or how immoral or how irrational he goes, we just have to defend him and play dum-dum whenever he does it? Because I know Cat Turd has not posted about this. So I don't think these people like Cat Turd, no offense, God bless the guy, I don't think he cares. Like it's like it's like a Trump like fantasy cosplay movement where nothing matters. I can't play the full video because they're going to copyright strike this. MSNBC has very thick laws, even though I do have fair use. So I'm just going to play a few clips and then we're going to move on and say, where should we draw the line? And I think it's going to be an interesting conversation because I know abortion's a tough topic, especially most people don't want to hear it from me. But oh well, I have a podcast. I'm going to give my opinion on it. So here's a few clips that I could play.
A federal ban landed on your desk if you were reelected. Would you sign it at 15
Are you talking about a complete ban?
A ban at 15 weeks.
Well,
So she asked Trump the question in this interview. She goes, if a federal ban for 15 weeks, which is really far away from the 5 to 6 week ban that they're talking about in Georgia, the heartbeat bill in Florida, like 15 weeks is pretty nuts. And Trump, unfortunately can't play the full clip. You can find it at my Twitter all over the place. Twitter has seems like less strict rules for copyright, but Trump won't say yes or no, even on a 15 to 16 week bill. So, Trump, the full answer is he's like, I'm not going to answer what I think about 15 weeks. Democrats, I think they're coming around to it. I'm not sure. I'm going to work with both parties. And he says that he's going to get both parties on the same page with this, and everyone's going to be happy, which of course is not going to be true. You can't make everybody happy. And that's not how it's ever going to work, which is fine. But then he goes on to say that, the heartbeat bill that DeSantis and Kemp did, but he obviously talks about DeSantis because he's running against him. He says, like I played before, I'll play it one more time, that it was a bad mistake or a terrible thing or whatever he says.
I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
And I'm going to hold this up again. His biggest supporters thought that was an insane stance when Democrats had it. But now that Trump has the same abortion stance as Democrats, saying that a heartbeat's a bad place to draw the line, now it's going to be crickets, right? It's going to be crickets because this movement actually doesn't have a single conviction, apparently, about anything anymore. And then I'm considered like a hater for believing what I believed 3 weeks ago today. My opinion and my stances and my excuses, I guess they're just supposed to change based on what Trump says. If Trump turns into a Democrat communist, I'm supposed to do that. If Trump turns into a bigger vaccine salesman than Bill Gates, I'm supposed to turn into that. If Trump turns into Stacey Abrams over abortion, I guess that's supposed to be my stance. Now we could talk about, because I understand that abortion is not a popular issue. It is losing Republican votes in many ways, but it is literally the issue of life or death and when life begins. So it's not to be taken lightly. Let's play the most extreme example of somebody on abortion, a Democrat whose name is Ralph Northam, who sounded like, because we haven't drawn a line, where do we draw the line? That's what I'm going to talk about before I talk about the Lauren Boebert controversy. Do you draw it at conception? Do you draw it at heartbeat? Do you draw it at 15 weeks, which seems kind of crazy? Do you draw it at birth? Or no, are we going to play whack-a-mole with babies after birth? I know that sounds crazy and I'm slightly exaggerating, but listen to Ralph Northam. I mean, it sounds like he's willing to murder a baby after birth if the doctor says so and resuscitates the baby, which means keep it alive and then decide to abort it. This is skirting on the lines of murder when you have no principles or line to draw.
The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family.
And then a decision would be made. So I know they fact checked that a million times, and they could say what they want. He was talking about special situations, but still in a special situation, if the birth is happening and the mother, this dude has no line. He's like, whatever the doctor says. And it's like, all right, well, that's what it looks like to just go as far as possible. What if someone came along and said, well, at 1 month, it's technically not really grown. It can't even speak. So it's not really like a human. Of course it would be. And then you get to sperm and eggs. And most people would say, well, your sperm's not a baby. Your egg's not a baby. Maybe it happens here. Maybe it happens at heartbeat. I understand that it's a complex issue for a lot of people. Most Christians think it happens at conception. A lot of people think a heartbeat bill is a good compromise. It's got a heartbeat, keep it alive. That's what DeSantis says, but Trump says that's a terrible thing to keep a heartbeat alive. I guess Trump is a Democrat on that issue, whatever. Maybe he's a liberal conservative or whatever. But my question is where do we draw the line? We have to draw it somewhere. Me personally, I think a heartbeat is a compromise. I think it's not conception. It's not the exact second, but it has a heartbeat. You have weeks to get it done. To me, that sounds reasonable. 15 weeks sounds a little much. And I mean, I guess my answer would be, and maybe this wouldn't be popular for a politician, but this is something I'm trying to practice myself. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing better than I ever have. Sex creates babies. So this culture is a mess, and it's not really a Democrat or a Republican issue. Casual sex is a lie. I mean, I grew up in my 20s thinking it was cool. I listened to rap music. Oh, it's just cool to bang whoever and go out. It's really not cool. And that's how you have a baby. So now in America, regardless of what people think of abortion, a lot of the women, if not a majority of women now, are on birth control. It's messing up their hormones. It's basically jacking their body up because they want to have casual sex, just jacking their body up unnaturally. Oh, I'm going to just bang a bunch of guys and I'm not going to have a kid. It's like, you can do that, but it's like, it's not the ideal route. The ideal route would be, if you want a baby, have sex with someone you like. Hopefully you're married. And if not, don't have sex. I know that's like a crazy thing to think nowadays, but what's also crazy is being a drug addict, taking pills every single day, banging a bunch of guys because you're infertile due to a pill that the pharmaceutical industry is making billions of dollars off of. Like, that's crazy. The whole situation has gotten crazy, and I'm not acting like I'm holier than thou. I'm not the dictator of America. My opinion doesn't matter, but that is my opinion. Before I even talk about abortion, I just want to talk about modern culture. Modern culture is a lie. Casual sex is a lie. Banging a bunch of people because you've sterilized yourself is a lie. And it would be a lot smarter to just be more thoughtful with your actions, men and women, than just shoving pills in your mouth and shoving any sort of contraption you can to unnaturally stop your body from creating a baby. So to me, the first line of abortion and the first line of birth control has to be self-discipline. I mean, we're turning into a society that just wants a pill for everything, a gadget for everything. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not trying to preach, but I just think that we need to think about this stuff. And if we thought about this stuff the way I just said, we would come to the conclusion that was moral a lot easier than right now, where people are just running around acting like I want to do anything, where it's like, if you want an abortion at 15 weeks, okay, but like maybe you could move to a liberal state. Like, if that's your number one thing in life is you want to be able to abort a baby at 15 weeks and that's really important to you, first of all, it's a little odd in my opinion, but whatever, I guess that's your thing. Then, I don't see a problem with Florida and Georgia drawing the line at heartbeat. I think that makes total sense. Like, where else are you going to, where do you draw the line? I don't know. I'm not God. I'm not a doctor, but it's like, are you going to do a Ralph Northam and draw it after birth? Casey Anthony, way after birth? Are you going to do mid-birth? Are you going to do Democrats right up till birth? You have like a huge thing in you and you could just abort it even though your stomach's out to here. I mean, I get like you could do that, and we could act like, animals in the wild and just hit, like you could hurt your baby, to save yourself or something. Like, some animals will just get rid of the weakest ones to keep moving in the wild. I don't think that's a good idea, but there is a conversation that people are having where it's like, apparently people are thinking less and less about human life. Like, we just treat ourselves like we're nothing. And it's like, you got to draw a line somewhere. I don't think afterbirth's a good idea. I think that's evil. I think mid-birth is evil. And in the later stages, I think it becomes less and less moral because it's like it's forming. I mean, you could make the same argument saying like a fully grown baby at 20 weeks isn't a human. You could make that argument for like a 1-year-old. It's not really speaking. It's not really walking or anything. It's just kind of sitting there. Yeah, it's not a fully grown human, but it will be. And it's the same as in somebody's womb. So I'm not trying to make people feel bad or hurt anyone's feelings. But if a line has to be drawn, I think heartbeat seems like a pretty good place. No, before it is fine. After, it seems a little nuts, like 15 weeks. I don't know, 20 weeks, 25. Everybody has to draw a line somewhere. And I know that this is a topic people like to fence it on because it's like, well, I'm not a woman and I don't know. And it's like, if there's no line drawn, then murder is going to be legal. So you have to draw it. Well, no, I don't want that. Then where do you draw your line? Right at birth? Okay, so you draw your line at birth because after birth's murder. So in the womb. And most people be like, well, not like right up to birth, but that's what you said. You draw the line there. Well, no, before that. So when? 15 weeks, 6, you got to pick a line. So I think heartbeat is more than fine. Personally, I would be fine with it going even earlier. And if it got later, I personally think it's too much, but it's not up to me. If states want to do that, they have the right to. And my opinion doesn't really matter. But when I see a Republican president say this, like the same thing that Stacey Abrams says and Democrats say, that drawing it at heartbeat is not a good idea,
I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think that
I
goes
think what
too
he did
far?
is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
It just makes me think and this is, I'm sorry if this offends people, that Trump is like an Andy Kaufman level comedian. Like, if you guys don't know who Andy Kaufman was, he was a comedian, but he was like skirting the lines of, is it comedy? Is it real life? Is he acting? Is he playing a role? Like, no one really got Andy Kaufman, and that was the genius of his comedy. Trump, to me, is like an Andy Kaufman-esque comedian because he's got conservatives thinking he's like the most conservative person coming to save conservatism, but he's really a New York liberal that doesn't even agree with most of his base on abortion. He takes a pretty far left stance saying a heartbeat is a bad place to draw it. And it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like Trump's Andy Kaufman when it comes to a man and a woman. He had a funny Megyn Kelly interview recently where she goes, can a boy, like, is a boy or is a girl a girl? And Trump's like, he looks super uncomfortable answering it. And the reason is because people don't know this, but if you look at history, I didn't print it out, but you could look it up. In 2012, Trump actually was one of the first people in business to basically start the slippery slope and allow biologically born men to enter women's competitions. I believe it was Miss Universe or whichever beauty pageant he owned. They didn't want to allow a transgender man to woman compete in Miss Universe, and Trump stepped in and reversed the ban. So way before Caitlyn Jenner, Trump was actually one of the first, if not the first, to really normalize letting transgender people into beauty pageants and arenas of competition. So if you agree with that, it's whatever. If you disagree with it, it's whatever. But I'm just saying Trump is like Andy Kaufman, where he's really like this New York liberal who normalized transgenderism. He's this New York liberal who thinks that protecting a heartbeat in a womb is like a terrible thing. It's a very unpopular opinion with most of his base. They smeared Dr. Oz for having that opinion. They smeared Stacey Abrams for having that opinion. But then it's like, do people actually care about babies' heartbeats? And this is where it gets weird to me. If you care about a baby's heartbeat, then you do. If you don't and you think it's not a human, then you don't. But this is like that moment where people wondered why I wanted the Vivek interview so bad. I don't care if he thinks Trump's amazing or if he thinks Trump's a sore loser. I don't, or somewhere in the middle. But when someone says this and this and this, I'm just like, who are you? This is who I am. I tell you who I am. When I agree with Trump, I let you know. When I disagree, I let you know. But when it comes to someone like Cat Turd, I'm just curious, and God bless this guy. I'm not trying to be a dick. I know he's got a lot of influence. I've heard he's a great guy. I'm sure we have a lot of mutual friends. But when Stacey Abrams talks down about the fetal heartbeat bill, she's insane. But when Donald Trump does it, he doesn't mention it to his audience. So his audience is getting brainwashed because it's like nonstop, 100% in the direction of Trump propaganda, where every time people get mad at me, they're always retweeting this guy. It's like the MSNBC of Republicans, where I'm just curious, and I'm not trying to be rude or start a fight because that's the last thing I want to do. Do you care about babies' heartbeats? If you do, then you would care about this. And if you don't, then just admit it. It's not about babies' heartbeats. It's not about conservatism. It's not about America. It's not about Republicans. It's not about our values. It's not about our freedom. It's about Trump. It's a Trump movement. If he does this, we like it. If he doesn't do this, we hate it. We don't have an opinion. We won't push back. We don't even care about babies' heartbeats if Trump doesn't. It's just, it's like, that's what the Republican Party under Trump has become over the last couple of years. And it's so weird because I never really expected it. Like when lockdowns were happening and Trump said that Sweden should stay locked down, I was like, I don't think so. I think Sweden is open, and that's a good thing. And America should open like Sweden. And people were like, shut up, Anomaly. What are you, Trump derangement syndrome? You hate him? And I'm like, no, I believe in liberty. Now liberty is like Trump derangement syndrome because Trump was on the wrong side and siding with Fauci for too long. Now it's like, is anybody going to report this? Or is this just they got to close their eyes, close their ears and be like, that was... So just say you don't care about abortion, which a lot of people do. A lot of people don't. I don't care what you care about, but it's like you act like you care about abortion and heartbeats when Democrats do it. But when your idol does it, all of a sudden a baby is just an afterthought to you because it doesn't matter. And this is what I've learned before I move on about a lot of Republicans. It's like, it's been very disheartening to me. If you could tell, I'm very passionate. I try to be as honest as possible. I try to help people. I don't want to just like have a bad influence, and I want to be a better influence in the world. I want to be better media. I want to be more accurate. So I wouldn't say like overly pride, but I try hard to not suck. And I thought that's what a lot of people were doing. Like when this whole Trump movement started building and this new conservative movement that wasn't the rhinos and it was taking the best of both sides. And now we're calling out Big Pharma and now we're standing up against the Uniparty. I thought everyone was on the same page. And as the last couple of years have unraveled, I started to realize that with a lot of these people, nothing matters to them. Babies don't matter to them. Heartbeats don't matter to them. Your liberty doesn't matter to them. The Constitution doesn't matter to them. Trump matters to them. If Trump infringes on the Second Amendment, let's not talk about it. But if Gavin Newsom tries to do it, let's talk about it. If Stacey Abrams trying to take away baby's heartbeat, she's a demon. But if Trump does it, let's not talk about it. And it's like, it's very disheartening to me to realize that a lot of my peers don't actually give a crap about anything except for their own power, their own wallet, and their own idol worship, which benefits their economy. It's like they don't, if you can't even bring yourself to say, hey, Trump, I think you're a little off base here, then you don't believe what you said 2 years ago, which is also fine. Just I want to know what people believe. Is it the heartbeat? Is it not? Or is it only the heartbeat if Democrats do it? If Biden prints $6 trillion, he just messed up the economy and it's socialism. But when Trump does it, Anomaly's a hater for talking about it. You know, it's like, it's just so nuts. If Kevin McCarthy said, oh, he's a rhino, but now Kevin McCarthy's backing up Trump, but now he's cool. Like, it's like nothing matters to anyone ever. It's like, it's all fake. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I've just come to this conclusion. I'm like, damn, everything's so much faker than I thought it was. And it is what it is. But once again, before we move on,
I mean, DeSantis is willing to sign a 5-week and 6-week ban.
Would you support that? You think
I think what he did is a terrible thing and a terrible mistake.
If you think a heartbeat bill is too soon, that's fine. But if you freak out about Democrats saying exactly what Trump just said for 3 years, everybody's freaking out. How dare you not understand the heartbeat? What don't you understand about a heartbeat? You're killing babies, blah, blah, blah. And then Trump does it. It's like, la, 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 la. Then you don't care about that topic. Just be honest. Be like, I don't care about anything. That's all I'm asking. If this is just a cosplay fantasy movement where we wear cowboy hats and we wear red clothes, let's just be honest about it. Let's just tell people like, hey, we don't care about liberty. We don't care about freedom. We don't care about the Constitution. We don't care about babies. We don't care about abortion. What we care about is dressing up and getting drunk and hanging out and just yelling like phrases. That's what we're doing. It's like furry cosplay Star Wars, but for Republicans to pretend like they actually believe the things they believe. Let's do it, but let's stop lying to people and acting like we actually care about these topics if no one does. And if I'm called a bad guy for reporting on it, it's ridiculous. I want to talk about the Lauren Boebert stuff. And I'm going to be as respectful and graceful as I possibly can, because I'm the last one that really wants to cover stuff like this, because I didn't even really tweet about it. I think I said one small thing, but everyone's tweeting. They're posting pictures. It's like, she's so bad. She's such a horrible person. I got her back. And it's like, it's a beautiful thing sometimes to not say anything. I'm watching all this and I'm like, I don't really want to talk about this at all. I don't want to tweet about it at all. I don't want to get in arguments with it at all. But since it is a relevant story that's public now, I do want to talk about it, because I think that it brings a lot of things full circle that I do want to talk about. So I'm going to start with, I would say the nicest thing I could say about Lauren and the most respectful thing. And one angle of it, because I think it's multi-layered. I don't think it's just like yes or no, good or bad. I think it's a multi-angle, multi-layer situation. The first thing I want to say is I've met her before. We've spoken briefly. I just saw her outside an event. You know what I'm saying? I think she recognized me. I recognized her. We took a picture. She was super nice, super down to earth. I have nothing bad to say about her as a person. When it comes to why people are defending her, this is my analysis, because some people are like, why are people defending her? Well, if you want to be honest, it's not like a top 1,000 consequential thing. Is it ideal for a woman to have that happen to her and that be public? No, but at the same time, like, what about the Epstein situation? What about the lockdown? What about the big pharma tyranny? What about the fact that we've been getting scammed for 50, 60 years? And this is like a morality test where I'm not saying I have the right answer, but this is why people like Trump in the first place. A lot of people didn't think Trump was this clean-cut guy. It was just like, look at what they're doing. They're starting 8 wars, but they're so nice. So what would you rather? Somebody that's wild and does something that you don't like, that is like raw, but doesn't start 7 wars, or somebody who wears a suit and acts like their marriage is perfect and starts 7 wars and probably does stuff secretly that you don't know about? It's like, as far as I get the side of people defending her, it's like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal when they're literally starting wars in foreign countries and hundreds of thousands of people are dying. It's not that big of a deal when they took away a lot of our Constitution for a year under the guise of an emergency and the governor of New Mexico is trying to do it. And probably this Lauren Boebert story will get more attention than the governor of New Mexico trying to suspend the Second Amendment due to a health emergency that she considers a gun crisis that she has no idea how to solve because she looks like a squirrel on meth. That's a big issue, but we live in a Kardashian era where it's like, it's just not juicy enough. You know what I'm saying? Give me something juicy. Oh, Gavin Newsom was dining with the French Laundry, whatever, but who's this person sleeping with? So it plays into like our obsession with TMZ style gossip. And I want to say the first angle of the story is I get why people are defending her and don't care. Because as far as betrayals that politicians have done over the last 100 years, this shouldn't even rank top 100,000. Like they've done everything and more, and this is nothing compared to that. So in her defense, I agree with that completely. Now, the other angle of it that I'm seeing, and I don't want to be a hypocrite here, and I want to be as honest as possible, my opinion about families doesn't matter. I think people who create families, that matters. Like if you are a loyal husband or wife and you've been together for 40 years and you have 8 kids and everything's perfect, your opinion about families matters more than mine because you've been more successful at it. I truly believe that. I'm humble enough to know that actions speak louder than words. Who cares what I think about your husband or your wife or your marriage when I'm 33 years old and you know what I'm saying? I'm not in a picture perfect, like here's my Christmas marriage. I hope to get that one day, but I believe actions matter more than words. And this is why a lot of people are starting to not respect the Republican Party, is because they talk a big game without humility or humbleness to their message, but they're not living the life that they claim to live. So people don't like them or respect them. And in some ways, people will respect a Democrat degenerate more who admits they're a degenerate than a Republican degenerate who acts like they're holier than thou with zero humility and zero grace. And then they get caught in the same type of scandals. It's embarrassing. And there's a reason people don't like us, because why would they? If it's just a bunch of hypocrites and double talkers, doesn't make sense. With that being said, you know, outside, I do want to say this too, is who took that camera? I think that's bizarre that somebody had night vision goggles on her recording her in a theater. I mean, that seems like a massive invasion of privacy. Someone was out to get her. That sucks. With that being said, you start to see a lot of divorces in the Republican Party. You have some of the most high-profile women that have gotten into the Republican Party using their family as a prop, saying, look, I have a husband. Look, well, now they don't have a husband. Now they don't have a great marriage because they ruined it because they ran for politics and broke up their marriage. I'm not trying to give people advice. I don't know what is the right move and what's not. But it's sad that so many women are getting into Republican politics saying, look at my family, I have these family values. But by the time they leave politics, they're divorced. You know what I'm saying? They're living a different lifestyle. Like that whole conservative angle that got them elected, they're not even living anymore. And my opinion of why that's happening is, you know, this is one thing I could say nice about Mike Pence. I don't agree with a lot of his policies. But Mike Pence, remember when they gave him a lot of crap when he was like, I don't have dinner with other women. I just have dinner with my wife. And they're like, oh, you're such a stiff. Oh, you're such a loser. No, that guy's right about that. That's how you keep a marriage. You keep a marriage by realizing what the world really is and not just falling victim to the new world that everyone says is so normal. When you have a wife that now joins politics, instead of being a wife at the house and a wife around the kids, she's now traveling the country, hanging out with a lot of men, drinking with a lot of men, staying at hotels with other men. Not that they're in the same room, but they're right next door. It's basically Coachella. Republican politics is Coachella. You get paid to speak, you go hang out, everyone tells you how great you are, even if you don't do anything, even if you're just like doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? You get paid, you drink, everybody takes pictures with you, you sleep in a hotel, you fly here, you stay with this guy, you talk. It's not conducive to keeping a marriage. You know, I don't think it's natural for a woman to enter politics, travel all over the place, leave her family behind. The divorce rate is going to skyrocket because it's not going to work. I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm not condemning people. I'm not acting holier than thou. You know, everybody chooses a path in this life, and life is not perfect, even if you plan for it to be. But this is a conversation that I think people need to have. Is like, you know, what are we really doing? And I would say what annoys me about Republicans is it's not that they preach all this stuff, but when you preach it with zero grace and zero humility, you have to live a perfect life. Like if you're going to go as hard as Bryson Gray, like Bryson Gray goes super hard, but he's living very hard. And the second that he's not living as hard as he's saying, it becomes weird. But so far, Bryson really is living that life. A lot of these politicians, they talk aggressively about all these topics, but they don't live them. And so if you're not living that lifestyle and you're not that person, have a little grace and humility when you talk about these tough topics. That would go a long way with a lot of people. But I don't think that that's the case. I think people are just yelling and screaming and saying, this is how you run a family. And then they can't even run their own family. And it just looks stupid. It's like, at the end of the day, my opinion about every family matters a lot less than what I do in my own life. And I understand that. And that's my ultimate goal. With other people, it's like your opinion about everyone in America's family matters a lot less if you can't even keep your own family intact. And that's because you're living this lifestyle that isn't conducive with raising a conservative family. And I think more and more people are going to figure that out. I'm not saying women can't run for office, even men that run for office, like traveling a lot, being away from your wife. It's hard in this day and age to keep a marriage together with cell phones, with technology. But especially, I do think this dynamic, like the left would call it sexist, but the truth is, obviously, some things have evolved and advanced, and it's amazing, and women can do all this stuff. But in many ways, at a certain point, it's like, it's also nice to have discipline. You have the freedom to do whatever you want, but freedom doesn't necessarily make you happy if you don't have discipline and God, like, some sort of God angle to it, in my view, that keeps you in check to know what's right and wrong. And I think that now women want to do everything. And it's like, you can't do everything. If you do everything, you're going to end up divorced. If you do everything, your family's not going to work. And that goes for a man too. There needs to be an honest conversation about it. I think it's like when I see certain couples that are like married or they're together and they're constantly posting like pictures of themselves, like revealing pictures. And it's like, no, that's fine. We both do it. It's like, yeah, I'm not a life coach or anything, but in my view, it's like that wouldn't be okay with me. It's not because I'm jealous or anything, but everybody acts like this is so normal. It's so normal to live this way. It's so normal to do this. It's normal in a world where people aren't living right. So sometimes you want to be not normal, like Mike Pence, and just not. I think that's the smart way to do it. I mean, if you're married, it's like, oh, you can have you could have dinner with other men, you could dance with other men, you could drink with other men, you could stay at hotels, you could do all that stuff. But I don't think it's going to work as well as someone like Mike Pence, who understands the dynamic between men and women. I'm not saying every woman you ever eat with, you're going to want to sleep with, but it's this way we're living is not natural. I have a friend who works in the pharmaceutical industry, not doing like high level stuff, like lower level stuff. And they tell me like, yeah, you know what? Everybody cheats at my job. Like they all pretend like they're so great. They're all cheating. They're all over the place, but they pretend like they're not. And it's like, that's like status quo in this world. It's like they're always like, oh, you're being jealous. And then they'll cheat. Oh, you're just being jealous. Oh, you care about me, so you're being jealous. And it's like, all these things that we're doing are just not natural and nobody's playing their role. So at a certain point, you're going to be by yourself. It's just like the reality of it. So I'm not saying I have it all figured out. I'm certainly not perfect. I think the most important thing for me to do is focus on myself. And I try to be graceful and have humility with that. And I think that grace and humility goes a long way. So I think, honestly, to wrap up this, and I'm going to read a few comments, I think that Republicans, like it's become a cosplay movement. And I'm not trying to act like I'm so above it or anything, but it's like nothing's real anymore. We care about babies' heartbeats, but only if it's Democrats doing it. If Trump does it, now we don't care about babies' heartbeats enough to talk about it because we don't want to ruin our economy. So is it about the baby or is it about the money? Because I've put my life on the line. I put my career on the line. I've put every dollar on the line. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars to stand up for what I believe in when it comes to medical tyranny and stuff. So to me, it's not really about the money. Yes, it's a business. Yes, it's a job. Yes, I'm not trying to lose all my money. I'm trying to work. But, if there comes a thing where it's like my morals versus the money, I'm going with morals every time. That's the type of person I am. If you're not that type of person, then you're not that type of person, but you got to stop pretending like you are that type of person, and that's become the Republican movement. It's become like a cosplay Trump cult hangout where nobody actually believes these conservative values. Families aren't staying together. People are cheating, etc. Divorce, this and that. And it's like, it's all over the place. And it's like, I get it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not shaming people, but like we become a mess. And I think to change the world, you got to change yourself. And we can't just be like a cult of personality. We can't be hypocrites. We can't have double standards. If we complain about the left's double standards, we can't have double standards. We can't say, oh, the left sucks because they have double standards for Trump and this person, and it's true. But then you have double standards for Trump and DeSantis because you like the character of that guy more than that guy. So you won't even talk about the heartbeat bill that you were mad about 3 weeks ago. You're a hypocrite now too. So, we got to figure out who we are. It's like, are we flawed people that make mistakes, that have grace and humility when we talk about topics? Or are we just ranting, yelling, acting like we're all preachers and pastors? Then, we're not even living the life and maintaining the family that we preach about all the time. We can't have it both ways. We either need to have grace and humility and talk about these topics like I am, or just, lean into it, but really live that sort of lifestyle. But I don't think Republican politics is that lifestyle. And I think a lot of stuff, they're just like Democrats 5 years earlier. Like, everyone's like, I'm seeing all these articles like Trump's going to pick a woman. Trump's going to pick a woman to please the women. It's the same thing the left's doing. If you want to pick a woman, pick a woman. But if you're picking a woman just to show how like not sexist you are, and it's like, then we're playing identity politics too. Oh, we hate identity politics unless it's a black conservative summit to try to get black people to like us. Okay, do it. But then you also like identity politics. You guys play the same things. You cry and say what I'm saying is hate speech. You hate what I'm saying. A lot of people on the right use a certain word to shut down free speech and pass bills, and then they call you that word. So it's like you start to dive into it, and it's like, what do people believe? Is there any cohesion to what we believe? And are we principled and moral about certain topics, or are we just like following an economy and a personality? And if that's the case, then we just got to be honest about it. That's my opinion. God bless Lauren. I think nobody would want to go through what she went through with the media. I think it's creepy that they filmed her. It sucks that, she broke up with her husband and now is like dating some other guy. And like, it is what it is. Everyone makes mistakes. Everybody has things not work out. It sucks that so much attention is on her like this. But at the same time, I think in general, we need to have a real conversation about what we're doing. Because I think that Republican politics is like it's just like a big hangout. And I don't think very many people care about what they really talk about. And I'm not saying Lauren. I feel bad for her and I like her. I'm just saying in general, like things are just going off the rails in my view. And it's just like, eventually people are going to snap out of it and wake up out of this fog that they're in. Cause it's, how could you not? If you're ranting about babies' heartbeats for years and saying that's evil, that Democrats don't want to draw the line there, but then when your guy does it, you don't say anything. Like what? This is like a weird ride that needs to stop. Like people are just riding Trump's coattails, being like, I want all the money. I want all the fame. I want to believe. He's a character to me. He's a cartoon character. And like eventually this ride's going to stop and you're going to snap out of it and be like, holy crap, I lost my mind over this guy. Holy crap, I've gone nuts over this guy. Holy crap. It's like I think whatever the Republican Party has turned into, for a while, it was looking really good and really promising, and it's taken a dive, and it's a disaster now, and just nobody wants to admit it. I think people are going to snap out of it eventually. Honestly, like I think people are going to wake up and be like, all right. And that's why people are leaning into trad live. Like oh, I'm just going to homestead and do a farm. That makes more sense than having your wife run as a congressman and then losing your family. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm just saying it makes more sense to live a trad life than it does to like put on your pants and be like, I'm going to Washington. It's like, okay, but everyone can't do everything. Like personally, me, I'm not saying a woman can't run for politics. Absolutely. You could do whatever you want, but I personally wouldn't want to marry somebody that wanted to do all that. That's my opinion. It's like, I want somebody that wants to lean into our roles and I want to provide. And, it's like, I don't want competition in the sense of like, I don't want you flying all over the place and I'm flying all over the place. I just think that's a disaster. Even for celebrities, when they're both famous, it's like, I don't know. I don't think it works long term. And I'm not blaming women for being successful or anything. It's just like, that's my prerogative. It's like, I get in enough trouble for the two of us. I don't need another woman doing all this stuff, hanging out with guys, staying at hotels, telling me I'm jealous. Like, that's crazy to me. I'm more Mike Pence-esque, where it's like, yo, I would be much happier if we both didn't just have lunch and dinner with other women. I know that's like extreme, but sometimes to be extremely happy and I don't like to play games. And it's at the point where I want my wife to trust me. But at the same time, when I'm married, I don't want to be having lunch with 5 women. I don't want to be at events till 1:30 with women. If I'm touring or something, it's like I would like her to be there, or at least to build a trust that I'm only doing it for the money. I think everyone just takes everything so lightly nowadays, and it's like, oh, whatever, we're just doing whatever. And it's like, you do whatever, you get whatever results. Like, I don't, that's the economy we live in. And even women, when they're in the workforce and stuff, it's like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Go do whatever you want. Who cares about my opinion? But at the same time, it's like, if you're at home and you're with your husband and you're working with your husband versus now there's another hierarchy in your job. There's another man there. You're with them 40 hours a week. He kind of controls what you can and can't do. It's not, I think there is a beauty to the traditional style of, leaning into a man and a woman creating a baby and starting a family versus like, let's all travel and do this, and I'll be here and you be there, and I'll work 40 hours for this guy, and you go to Massachusetts, and I'll be drunk till 2 a.m. networking, but that's totally normal. Don't get jealous. It's like, it's not normal. You know what I'm saying? Someone said, don't be anything like Pence. I'm talking about his relationship with his wife in the sense of, I don't want to eat dinner with a bunch of other women, and people mock that. I think that's intelligent. I think that that's extreme discipline, and I think extreme discipline gets good results, And and just to be clear real quick, I'm not shaming women. I'm not disagreeing with anybody. Someone says it sounds gay. It's not gay. I mean, I'm not trying to brag. I could get women. I turn down more women than I say yes to. When it comes to like, sex and stuff, it's like women get mad at me for not wanting to do it. I have a lot of options. I'm not bragging. It's just true. It's like, it's not gay to have discipline. Like, if you have a wife, it's not gay to just want to sit and eat with her. If you don't want to marry somebody and be with someone, then don't marry her. If you want to just bang a bunch of chicks, like you're free to do that in this world. But like, it's like, how is that gay? How is it gay to settle down with somebody? It's not gay. It's like taking every option you have is not gay either. It's just sloppy. Like, you don't have to do everything with every chick. And if you have disciplined your wife, you're gay. Like, that's the opposite of gay. It's cool. And the older you get, you realize like casual sex is a lie. I'm not acting perfect. I'm not a non-flawed person. I've made mistakes. I've been in a different mindset. I'll still make mistakes. I don't think I'm perfect even now, but I'm just saying in general, it's like in your 20s, you think that all this stuff's fun, but putting that private part in a woman, that creates a baby. So sure, she could take pills to turn her body off and screw her body up to not have a kid, or put something in there, or do this and do that. But this is all unnatural. Hey, let's get drunk and I'll stick my thing in there and I'll put this thing over it called a condom, and you'll have these birth control pills that you take. And then isn't this fun? This is fun. It's not fun. That's not fun for me anymore. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying sex isn't fun. Obviously it is, but like, I'm just at the point in my life where I'm like, I get it now. I get the Christians now. I get the people that have discipline now. Cause like, that's not fun. It's a very fleeting moment. It's like getting wasted and you wake up and you feel like shit. You feel like crap after you have casual sex because you're worried about having a kid. You're worrying about this. You're worried about that. She's got the birth control. It's probably screwing up all her body. It's not as fun as everyone's making it out to be. Sure, there's fun elements to it. It's fun to hang out with chicks, but at the end of the day, it's not gay to realize all this stuff. It's like, it's the opposite of gay. It's like, that's just the truth. Like, the more you do, the more you have to worry about. And that plus that equals a kid at a certain point, unless you're unnaturally shutting your body off and doing stuff. The best form of birth control is just to not have sex, and then when you want kids and have a wife, to have sex. And honestly, it's not popular. I'm not trying to get too personal now, but in the last couple of years, women get mad at me because I don't want to have sex for this reason. I'm just honest. It's like, doing this isn't fun for me anymore, because eventually I want kids and I want to think about it and not just do it. And women get mad at me. If the roles were reversed, it's like, they're always saying, oh, he was forcing me. Women try to force me all the time. They get mad. They freak out. They you know what I'm saying? I've had some crazy experiences where it makes me feel good. I'm like, dang, I must be a catch if they're this pissed off. But long story short, it's like, that's the life I live in. It's not gay. It's like, women will throw themselves at me, but I'm like, I don't want to have sex. I don't think it's worth it. And it's like, oh, who are you doing it with then? Or what? You don't want to please. And it's like, that plus that equals baby. And if I don't want to have a baby with you, I'm not doing it. I'm not going to be pressured into it. I'm not going to be bullied into it. But if the roles were reversed, they'd be trying to Russell Brand me probably, or some crap like that. And I don't know what he did, but it's odd timing after years. But long story short, it's like, women don't handle it well because they've been sold this lie also that if someone doesn't want to do that with them, that they don't like them or they're ugly or, they don't understand it, because most men would probably bang like a freaking kitchen sink or something if they had enough beer. So people don't handle it well, but that's how I think. And the reason I'm even talking about this is because the first topic was about abortion. And it's like, I don't run this country. It's not up to me. I understand if people agree, but me personally, I think a heartbeat bill is more than a compromise. And I think it's crazy that Trump doesn't see that. But I did want to say this too, because I forgot to earlier. The interesting part about Trump as a character is that he caves all the time to Democrats, but the perception of Trump is that he's so far right when he's like actually pretty liberal. And he's almost like at this point, the worst of both worlds. Cause it's like, he's perceived as if he's like some Stalin-esque character. He's obviously not. But when it comes to getting through conservative policy, oftentimes he doesn't even do it because he caves on abortion. He caves on this, he caves on DACA. And it's like, he doesn't understand that because of how he talks and presents himself, that he's not getting those votes. Like, he's not getting the abortion votes. He's not getting the moderate votes. The media has already persecuted him. And to be quite frank, just the way he acts, and I don't mind it, but like, he's not getting those votes. So it's like, either you want a person who caves and gets all the votes, or who doesn't cave and just does it. It's like Trump doesn't get all those votes, but at the same time, he constantly caves to Democrats, where I feel like someone like DeSantis, and I'm not saying he's perfect, and I'm not saying he's your best friend, he's perceived as less extreme than Trump because he doesn't act like Trump, but he actually gets through the policy. Like, if you look at a lot of media smears on DeSantis, they're like, he's the hardcore version of Trump. Say what you want about DeSantis. He's actually conservative. Heartbeat bill, he believes in it. The kids' school stuff, he believes in it. The transgender stuff, he believes in it. Say what you want. He does it because he believes. Like, Trump doesn't believe any of these things. He gets treated as if he's so much further right than everyone else, but he's actually like a liberal on all these topics. He has no principled stance. On COVID, he has no principled stance. On vaccines, he has no principled stance. On Florida not killing people because of their COVID policies, he has no principled stance. On abortion, he has no principled stance. Even on transgenderism, Trump has no principled stance. He is the one in 2012 who ushered in the slippery slope in the first place by allowing people to compete. He's a liberal. He doesn't have any conservative principled stance, but people think he's like their savior in all these categories. And the more you listen to him talk, the more you kind of realize, and it's like, for the better or worse, Trump is about Trump. If he has to be left-wing, right-wing, communist, fascist, I'm not saying he's any of those things, but like, he'll say and do whatever he has to do to try to win. Like, against DeSantis, whether people pay attention or not, Trump has been exposed by DeSantis, not because DeSantis is so amazing, but DeSantis has hit him from the right on a lot of topics. He's like, here's my stance, Trump. It's the heartbeat bill, 5 or 6 weeks. And that's pretty popular on the right. And Trump goes, that's too much, and it's like, okay, so you're further left than DeSantis on abortion. Got it. Okay, what about COVID? Trump says this until he runs against DeSantis. Now he sounds like Chris Cuomo. Now Trump sounds like CNN. Now he sounds like the CDC. He's repeating their propaganda from 2020 to look bad about DeSantis. And he never said it before DeSantis ran. So it's like, okay, he's further left than DeSantis on COVID. Like, Trump, there's nothing he really believes. It's like, what do I have to do to make him look bad? Where with me, I'll tell you what I think about the heartbeat bill, and that's what I believe until I have other evidence otherwise. It's like, I believe this, whether Stacey Abrams does it, Trump does it, DeSantis does it. I believe this because I believe what I say about Trump doesn't believe, he doesn't care. Like, there's not even that many topics that he really has conviction to. I'm here. I'm trying to please both sides. Why, though? They don't like you. You did all this COVID stuff for them. They don't like you. They're not voting for you. Scientists are not going to vote for Trump because of his vaccine. Liberals are not going to vote for Trump because of his vaccine. And they're not going to vote for him based on his abortion stance either, because it's like, he comes across as if he's so extreme, but he's actually super liberal, but he doesn't get those super liberal votes. Like, DeSantis and other people that carry themselves better, even Vivek. I'm not saying you guys have seen what I said about him, but it's like, the way he carries himself, he gets liberals more than Trump, I feel like, because he just carries himself different. Yes, his views in many ways are more extreme, quote unquote, not really, but than Trump. And he has more conviction than Trump, or pretends to. But like, the way he comes across is like, it's just like, he's younger, he's chiller, he's like smiling. Trump comes across as like super far right, but he's like a liberal. So it's like, he caves all the time. and it's the worst of both worlds. Like if you're going to come across that way, at least just do it. If you're going to say all this stuff about DACA, then do it. You know what I'm saying? You say, oh, I'm going to send them back this and that. Wait, no, I'm not. I'm going to compromise. You're not going to get any votes based on your compromise. So it's like other people are more conservative and more principled than Trump, and they get more votes from the other side based on presentation. Him, I don't think there's going to be 5 people that look at that and say, oh, I'm going to vote for Trump because he wants to let me abort for 15 weeks. If people feel that strongly about abortion, they're going to vote for Democrats anyway. And as far as us, we do have a moral decision to make, especially politicians. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's nice to get votes and please people. But if this is truly a life on the line, we have to investigate, do science and research and figure out where is it a baby? Like if we don't draw the line at heartbeat, and we go to 15 weeks, what is at 15 weeks that makes it more of a baby then than now? Is it an arm? Is it a leg? Like we have to pick a certain point or else it's just whack-a-mole on babies out of the womb. That's not a joke. It's like pick a line. You know, what's your line, Trump? Mine, I think heartbeat is fair. I understand people saying conception. Personally, I wouldn't be mad with anything between there, but after heartbeat to me is a little far, but it's not really up to me. That's my line, at least part, and then it can move that way. Where's your line? 15 weeks. Is that your line? It didn't even sound like that was his line. If you listen to the interview, he's like, if Democrat, I want everyone to agree on it. Everyone's not going to agree. You're never going to get both sides together coming to a conclusion on abortion. It's not going to happen. So as a man, it's like, where is it a life? Out of the womb, it's definitely alive. In the womb, about to give birth, I would say it's a lot. Like we got to have a conversation. And that's just my personal opinion is like, if you're going to push this policy, you have to explain it, right? Tell people, this is why I'm doing this. This is why. This is where it's a heartbeat. This is where it's alive. I don't care what the cost is. I'm trying to save a life. Like when you lean into it and believe what you actually can say, whether it's about conception or heartbeat or wherever, more people will understand it if you have a good, not everyone's going to like you, but I just, that's my opinion about everything now. It's like, it's become, and people could get mad at this, but it's become a cult where people don't actually care or have an opinion about anything. They just like Trump. If Trump says the vaccine saved 100 million lives, they make excuses for it, but they think the vaccine's bad, but they won't confront Trump. They think it's egregious when Stacey Abrams pushes against the heartbeat bill, but when Trump does it, la, 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 I don't care about heartbeats now. I'm a Trump supporter. What is this movement? Like, what are you guys doing? What are you trying to achieve? Money, fame, hope? You're trying to believe, you're playing cosplay with children's lives now. Do you even believe that? Or like, who are, it's so bizarre to me how far it's gotten. And it's like, dude, people are playing Weekend at Bernie's with Trump. He's been this way for years. I've pointed it out 2020, 2018. Trump's crushing it. I don't have to make that many excuses for what he's saying because he's crushing. Yeah, his personal stuff, sure, I'll make excuses for things that they're lying about. But there weren't very many excuses for Trump from 2016 to 2019 because he's like a different guy. I don't know if it's age. I don't know if he sold out. I don't know if that's always who he was. But the same way that the left is playing Weekend at Bernie's with Biden, yeah, Trump's better than Biden. He's more there than Biden. But really, like you listen to his policy, it doesn't match up with his base. His base thinks that the vaccine's hurting people and they're getting injured. And Trump thinks it's the greatest medical achievement that saved 100 million lives. How can you have a base of 95% of people, including millions of vaccinated people who don't even like the product anymore? I know many of them. Everyone I know that got the vaccine, they don't even like it. They're not looking for Trump to say it saved lives. They think he's an idiot. They think he's a clown, even though they got vaccinated. And it's like, who's that pleasing? It's pleasing the pharmaceutical industry. It's pleasing his donors. It's not pleasing his base. It's not getting him votes. He's not going to get Fauci's going to vote for him now because he's lying. Like, it's not helping him at all. This abortion thing, it's like, who is this guy? What does he believe? What his base believes and what he believes are not the same thing on like 8 out of 10 topics. And I guess that's just the game we have to play now. It's like, in order to be in this movement, you have to say, I don't actually care about babies' heartbeats. That was just a thing I said I cared about to make Stacey Abrams look bad. But when it comes to the actual policy, I'm going to ignore it and play dumb because I can't be a part of that. I don't get it. Like, if I say it, I mean it. If I think that the vaccine didn't save 100 million lives, I don't care if Stacey Abrams says it, Donald Trump. I believe that. I have evidence. I've done reporting. It's about the topic. It's not about which politician lies and says what. When it came to the Vivek interview, my point was not, is he this person or that? Like people are like, oh, he's this, he's that. I'm like, I just want to know who Vivek is. That's why I went tough on him. I said, you wrote in your book that Trump's a sore loser. Now you're saying you believe in voter and election fraud, but in your book you didn't. And your book was only written a year ago. So it's not that, like, which one, like, do you believe this or do you believe this? Or are you the type of person that just says, if you're on Candace's show, you'll say this. If you're on this show, you'll say this. Like, it's like, you're playing chameleon. That's why I ask those questions, because I don't understand. I'm not asking people to be perfect. I don't think people need to agree with me on everything, but it's like, what are we moving forward? Does this base care about anything? Or is it just a circus where they're literally just putting their godlike faith into Donald Trump and they're just following a character no matter what he says, no matter how much he declines, no matter how much he makes a fool of us? No, it's like, that's my guy. I'm just going to act. It's like, okay, maybe that's the right play. I don't know. Is that the right play? Just because he's better than Biden, that's what we do. We just play dumb and we become hypocrites and stuff. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it, but I'm just like confused at how long are people going to play this game for? And I just want to show real quick before I end again, I don't mind. God bless this guy. He's got a lot of influence. He's got a lot of power. He thinks it's insane that Stacey Abrams is against the heartbeat bill. Donald Trump has now made it clear that he is also against that bill. And now people have to draw a line in the sand. It's like, do you care about the heartbeats? You've been claiming to care about it for years. If you do, that's great. If you don't, just say you don't. Just be honest. That's all I'm at. I don't care about babies. I don't care about heartbeats. I don't care about abortions. That was always just an act I put on because I liked this guy in this side. And it's about the team. If my team does that to babies, it's okay. But if the other team does it, it's evil. If my team prints $6 trillion, it didn't destroy the economy. But when Biden does it, it's egregious. But when my guy does it, I make excuses. So it's like, that's what more than 50% of the base has turned into in the influencer class. And it's like, it's the new Fox News. It's the new, like, we're so different. We're against the rhinos. It's like, are you, or is that just your shtick to sell Trump merchandise? And you're exactly the same type of rhino that you're replacing. You're just smoother and more likable, and you repeat the things that Trump repeats. But are you, like, do we have any line? I don't know. It's interesting to me. God bless everybody. I appreciate everybody. That's just my take on it. And like with everything, I'm not trying to argue with these people or fight. I watch people every day fight on Twitter. It's like Trump versus DeSantis. Are you a Trump? Somebody said today to me, you hate Trump, blah, blah, blah. And then someone said, you love Trump too much. And it's like, can we calm down for a second? Like, I love Trump too much because I retweeted one thing that was semi-positive that I thought was interesting, like a tweet. And then I hate Trump because I believe the same thing I believed 8 months ago on a heartbeat bill. Like, people are going nuts over this guy on both sides. And I just want to say to Catter, to all these people, I don't want to fight over Trump and DeSantis. I'm not a DeSantis guy. DeSantis doesn't pay me. He's a flawed politician too. But I'm not buying into this false binary of like, hey, let's bash our heads against each other for 9 months and just be total hypocrites and weirdos. Like, I don't want to. It's not worth my time to fight over DeSantis because I don't care enough about him. I'm just trying to believe what I say I believe. Is that like, I know this is only going to help me because it's going to keep me employed, because if 95% of the field is so phony and fake, then it's like, of course, people are going to come to me for the truth. But it's like, I don't get what game these people are playing. It doesn't make sense to me. And I'm just going to keep saying it. I want to read one more. Let me see. Anomaly doesn't understand that Trump is trying to win in the general, so he has to be moderate on tough issues to win the general election. He's not going to get a single vote because of his vaccine stance. Even Democrats aren't saying the vaccine saved 100 million lives. No one's saying that besides Donald Trump. No one. Not Fauci. He's not saying it. Bill Gates is not saying it. Democrats aren't even saying it. No one's saying that the vaccine saved 100 million lives. No one. Trump's not going to pick up a single vote. He keeps sliding further towards hell because supporters like you make excuses for his failures. It's like you're basically trying to ruin this guy. I'm trying to help Donald Trump. You're basically trying to throw him in a pit and ride him until he falls off the cliff. And like, yeah, this is great. It's not great. He's not winning votes by doing a heartbeat bill. He's not. Democrats aren't going to look at Trump and be like, oh, now I'm going to vote for him because of abortion. They're going to, if they care about abortion that much, they're going to vote for Democrat. At what point do you have a moral stance? Would you be willing to take 1,000 babies and throw them into a fire pit of hell to win an election? Then you're not a good person. Do you have a stance on a heartbeat? You're sick. These like Republicans are sick in the head to me. If you don't think that is an important issue, I don't care. If you don't think a heartbeat means it's alive, I can understand that, in a debate. But if you claim to care about that for 2 years and say that's a baby's life, I'm saving babies' lives, it's about the heartbeat, and now you're like, I'll kill a bunch of babies if Trump wins the general. It's like, what if he loses the general and you just killed a bunch of babies for nothing? That's like 2020. You did all this caving. You cave. You don't accomplish anything. The country's in shambles. The economy's blown up. Trump's running around selling vaccines, and he doesn't even come out victorious. And you just sacrifice all your values for literally nothing. Why don't you try to elect a person who actually believes what they say? You just want a politician? That's fine. Then admit they're a politician. Admit they don't believe anything. There's nothing conservative or godlike or amazing about the Republican Party. It's a cult of worship. They don't give a shit if they threw 1,000 babies into a fire pit of hell. It's like, if that will get my guy elected, then yeehaw. It's like, it's gross. It's disgusting. And this is the same people who are saying, in 2020 to me, I was like, dude, thousands of people are losing their businesses because of lockdowns. Like, who cares? That's a small price to pay to arrest Chrissy Teigen. Trust the plan, man. And I'm like, you're sacrificing your fellow patriots under this cosplay role play thing where you're fantasizing John Legend playing piano in Guantanamo Bay, and you're willing to sacrifice your own people in order to accomplish that. But the crazy part is you're just sacrificing those people. You're not actually even accomplishing anything. It's the worst of both worlds. You're doing nothing, but at the same time, you're just hurting your own side because you don't have a principled or moral stance. There's a lot of ways to win the election. There's a lot of ways to get suburban women. Trump's stance in that, I don't think is going to do it. But if you're willing to not believe anything and just do whatever, then fine. There are more principled people that will stand their ground on all these issues and get more votes. There's a way to get people to like you by being authentic. You don't have to cave on every issue. And if you're going to cave on every issue, then what are you? What's the point? What am I voting for if you don't believe in everything? Well, if Trump's going to win the election, then maybe he should just not build the wall and let illegals in, and maybe he'll win. Then he's then what's the point? Like, there's a reason people come out to vote for him. They think he's going to do this, this, and this. If he's not actually going to do anything and he's just going to say whatever, it's like, what's the point? But it's good to know that a bunch of Republicans that 4 months ago were saying, if you want to get rid of a heartbeat, then you're killing a baby. I love the fact that they're admitting now that they're willing to kill babies in order to accomplish some sort of political means. It's insane, but it's very telling. God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Am I trying to convince myself? No, I mean, there's people out there that believe nothing and are just going to light a fire under your butt. You can follow them. They're all out there. They believe nothing they say. They have no morals. They have no conviction. They have no principles. They're not likable. They literally just make money off of people that are extreme, but they're not even reaching out to the other side. You compromise on all these values and you don't even pick up independence like you think you are, because compromising doesn't do that. It's like you're doing the worst of both worlds. You're not standing for everything. You don't actually believe anything. You're not accomplishing anything. You end in lockdowns and vaccine sales, but you think compromising all your values is going to get you the other side. But nobody likes you because you guys act insane anyway. Like, people aren't following cat turd on the left being like, oh, I really like this. It's like bait for people that are very far right. I'm not saying far right, but very Republican. That's all it is. It's like meat to people who agree with you. You're chasing everyone away. You stand for nothing. It's the worst of both worlds. You're not picking up all of these people. RFK is picking up some people, other people, even Vivek is picking up more people, and he's more principled on these topics, or pretends to be. And it's just an energy. It's like the way he talks, the way he acts. You don't have to cave on all your morals and principles to pick up the other side. That's the movement now. It's like, repel the other side and then act like compromising on things they believe is the way to get other people. It's like, I have probably more people on the fence or on the left that listen to some of my stuff, and I don't even cave nearly as hard as Donald Trump, but it's an energy, it's an authenticity. It's like, oh, this guy's not a garbage hypocrite. People don't like Republicans because they're hypocrites. They'll sit there and tell you how to raise your family with zero humility, and they don't even do it to their own family. This is why people don't like Republicans. They see through the shtick right now. They're like, all these people who worship Trump, they don't believe anything that they say they believe. You know what I'm saying? If you don't have a perfect family, it's not a big deal. Have grace and humility when you talk about it. And then people will be like, okay, that guy has a soul. That guy's fair. He's reasonable. He understands. But if you're just like, do this, do that, blah, 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 and you just yell at people and you're like, yeah, and then you don't even do it, that's when people look at Republicans and they're like, it's not real. It's not real. It has nothing to do with Trump derangement syndrome. It's just like basic, obvious reality. But whatever. I didn't mean to stay this long. I went a little bit over my time. But God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. Good luck to a conservative movement that believes in literally nothing. And the funniest part is, I'm just going to say this. A lot of the comments that are saying, oh, he's trying to win the election. If Donald Trump came out yesterday and said, the heartbeat bill, that's a good place to draw a line. A heartbeat's a heartbeat. I want to give flexibility. I want women to be empowered, but I think a heartbeat's a good spot. The same people that are saying what they're saying now would be saying the opposite. They'd be like, oh, Trump doesn't need to cave in order to get independent votes. He's taking a principled stance on a heartbeat bill. That all these people would be doing that. They'd be like, yeah, they'd be sharing that. They'd be like, look, Trump is standing for babies' heartbeats. But because he doesn't, it's like, well, I guess I believe what he believes. I don't have any beliefs of my own. I mean, I'll say and do whatever I have to do in order to make excuses for things that I don't believe because I like the guy. It's like that the same people that are acting like that's so awesome and it's going to get independence. If you flip what he said yesterday, they would flip exactly what they said. Mine's the same. If Trump would have said the other, I would have been like, that's fair. But he said this. And I'm like, well, that's what everyone got mad at Stacey Abrams for saying 8 months ago. But they're not going to say it now because they don't care about babies' heartbeats. It's okay. Just admit it. Just be honest with people. I think that's a more than reasonable compromise to draw the line there. I believe that. I don't care who I lose because I believe that that's a fair line. And I believe even a heartbeat is a compromise. I think that is a middle ground because I think you could go earlier. I believe that. I don't care what the consequences of it are. That's what I believe. What do you believe? You don't believe anything. You know what I'm saying? I believe in babies. I'm going to rant about babies' heartbeats for 2 years. But when Trump says he's fine with sacrificing babies' heartbeats, now I don't give a shit about it. Well, then you're throwing babies' heartbeats in the trash. That's what you are. Wear your red cap and hang out and drink beer. And everyone could go to these events and cheat on their wives. And they're so MAGA, whatever. And it's like, wow, Patriots, you're really crushing that. Like, what do you believe? Does no one believe anything? If Trump says the vaccine saves 100 million lives, does anybody want to counter that? No. We're just going to pretend that the vaccine's the greatest human achievement of modern history because Trump was a part of it with Big Pharma and he wants to take credit for it because he thinks ventilators are still cool in 2023. Yeah, let's throw babies' heartbeats in the trash, MAGA. Yeah, if Trump says it, but if he changes his mind tomorrow, we'll change our mind tomorrow because we don't believe a single thing we say. We're a bunch of hypocrites with double standards. We just yell loud and we think that that's going to win us elections because people really like us, don't they? It's like, what? It's not for me. It's not for me. God bless you guys. If you don't agree or you don't want to watch, I don't care. I don't care if I get 10,000 viewers, if my video gets 180,000 views, like my last video I did on the vaccine thing, or if it gets 1 view. I don't care because that's what I believe. Whether 1 million people agree with me, 10 people agree with me, if you could show me the logic and the reason behind it, then I could change my opinion. But if you're just going to shame me for smashing your idol, I don't care. And someone said, how insulting. It's only insulting if it relates to you. If it doesn't relate to you, there's plenty of amazing families here, amazing people, amazing wives, amazing husbands. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about the movement. It's like, that's what the movement's becoming. If it doesn't apply to you, then you should be on my side being like, I see it. It's like, it's a very simple equation. Do you care about a baby's heartbeat? If you do, like tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of Trump supporters did 3 weeks ago, and they made a stink when Stacey Abrams did it, and they made a stink against the Democratic media, and they made a stink about every politician who tried to try to say a heartbeat wasn't a good idea, and now they don't say shit. Just be honest. You don't give a crap about babies' heartbeats. It's okay. Just tell the truth. Like, stop pretending like you care about that topic. I don't care if you do or not, but there were like 100 million people ranting and raving about it for 2 years. And now that Trump takes a Democrat stance on it, nobody's going to say anything. So that shows me you don't care about that topic or babies. You care about worshiping Trump. But what is worshiping a guy that wants to throw babies' heartbeats in the chest? What type of movement is that? You think it's a godly movement, a conservative movement? The guy literally ushered in the slippery slope of transgenderism into America. Look it up, 2012. 2012, Donald Trump reverses transgender performer in his pageant. He made the executive decision to reverse it 4 years before Caitlyn Jenner. I don't care if you agree with that. I don't care if you disagree with that. But it's like this, nobody takes Republican Trump supporters seriously anymore outside of your own little world. I'm just being honest because you guys don't make any sense. You're like, let's get there on the slippery slope. That guy started the slippery slope. I don't care. It's like, all right, then what do you care about? Nothing matters to me. Just worshiping him. It's like, dude, what? Like I can't possibly want to distance myself further from whatever that is. Would I vote for him over Biden? Probably. At this point, it's getting harder and harder. The more he talks, it's like, what's the point at this point? For oil, sure, I'll vote for Trump. That's what I'm voting for. Conservative judges who are kind of crappy, but better than Democrat, and oil. That's it. I don't know. Someone said Anomaly was pro. I'm not. I mean, you could say what you want, but I'm not saying people can't change their mind. I'm just saying it's 2023 and Trump hasn't changed his mind, or it's like his stances this year. He's running for president and he believes these things that nobody in his base believes, but then nobody wants to talk about it. It's like, but then they'll talk about it when a Democrat does it. I'm not looking 50 years in Trump's past and saying he believed this before, or even that he believed it then. It's just like the double standards of it all are annoying, but whatever. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. I'll have calmer streams. I'm going to talk to a lawyer who is in Hawaii to look at that situation because there's a lot of weird legislation going on there. So if you care about the Hawaii situation and you want to learn about how the legislation has changed over the last couple of years and some of the weird stuff they're doing with the land in Hawaii, I got a lawyer that's coming on to explain that this week. Appreciate you guys. Someone said, I remember him staunchly defending babies. And this is the point. I know I keep ranting, but this is the point I want to end on. Is like, I understand politicians playing politics, right? That's what they do. They flip-flop. I believe this. I believe this. I'm just trying to get votes. I'll say whatever I have to say. It doesn't work that well. But also the whole reason I like Trump is because he wasn't that person. The reason I used to like Trump is not because he was saying whatever he had to say to get votes. He was saying what needed to be said, which is how he earned my vote. If he's going to just play both sides of every equation, I just don't trust the guy. It's like, okay, what do you believe? Because if Democrats say it and you're for babies and you're standing up for babies, but then you want to make DeSantis look bad, so now you're taking a Democrat stance. You say that DeSantis is crushing with COVID, and now you're saying he killed more people than Cuomo because you're taking stats out of context. What do you believe? Like that, you want that? That's not what I liked in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. That's not what I liked. I don't know. I didn't like Trump because he just said Democrat things. I didn't like Trump because he didn't take a firm stance on anything. I liked him because he did take a firm stance on stuff. And I think that's the disconnect that people aren't realizing, that it's like when we had a movement, at least in 2017, 2018, 2019, that I was a part of, it was, he's not lying. He's not wrong. He's telling the truth. He's taking a principled stance. He's standing strong despite the pressure. That's what I liked. This new movement of like, he has no principles. He has no stances. He's wrong, but he got lied to. And I like him because he's a fool. And I like fools who get lied to and hire. Like, it's not the same vibe that it was for me. I liked him when he told the truth at any cost. I don't like I'm going to be a Democrat now because I think it's not even going to get him votes. His image is so strong already that he's not going to pick up Democrat votes by caving on Democrat topics. I don't think that that's what's going to happen. But and for me, my vote, I mean, I'm not going to change the election, but like, I didn't vote for nothing. I'm not voting for a Democrat. I'm not voting for a flip-flopper. That's not what I like. That's not what I voted. That's not what I defended. It's not the same vibe as it was in 2018. It doesn't. And for me, I believe what I say about the heartbeat. If I can be told with evidence otherwise, I could switch it. But if I care about a baby's heartbeat, I care about it. It's not like a game to me. It's not like, let me throw this in the trash because this guy said this, but you'd pick it right back out of the trash tomorrow if he switched his stance. Like, you don't actually have a stance about the baby. You just go based on what your guy says, which is why more and more people and more kids don't like Republicans. They don't like Republicans because they look at the elders and they're like, these people are full of crap. And to be honest, they're right. The kids are right. They're not right about liberalism. They're not right about like communism. They're not right about Joe Biden and AOC, but they are right that the Republicans are full of crap. And that's leading so many kids to the left because it's like they preach all these things. And then when push comes to shove, they don't even believe it. You know, if you can get through to a kid and you can explain to them a heartbeat and you can mean it and you could be passionate about it and show them the science behind it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. I'm actually the good guy in the situation. But if you actually don't care about that topic, you pretend to when Democrats do it for a year. And then when your guy does it, it's like, I mean, maybe we're just, it's like no one, there's no conviction there. You know, our movement was stronger when there was conviction, when we were on the path of truth. And it's like, hop on. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Not like the flip-flopping thing doesn't work well. Someone said a non-Trump broke Roe versus Wade. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's just, to me, it's a pretty obvious thing. But like, if you care about the heartbeat, then care about the heartbeat. If you don't pretend to for 3 years and then switch your opinion overnight because a guy in politics. That's insane to me and millions of people. I think it's pretty obvious, but whatever. God bless you guys. I appreciate you. I'll be back with stuff that's not about this later this week. Like I said, a lawyer from Hawaii. That'll be interesting for people who want to learn about the little litigation going on there. Pretty nonpartisan, has nothing to do with politics. So I'm excited to talk about it. But hopefully, I know I always like harp on comments that disagree, but hopefully people get what I'm saying. I think it's pretty clear, but whatever. Agree to agree or disagree to disagree. Have a good day. I'll be back soon.